I'm Sari.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio. Welcome back to Seamwork Radio, where we share practical ideas for building a creative process so you can sew with intention and joy. Today, we've got a special sewing roundup episode for you where we talk about the things we're making, what we're excited about, what new things we're trying, and answer some listener questions. And we've also come up with a few new segments that we're going to share in this episode. We're going to be rotating the segments in these episodes in the future. So if you have an idea for a segment, we would love to hear it. It's been kind of fun to come up with them, but we'd love to hear what you guys think. We're going to start with a listener question. So this one came from Amy, and Amy asked, "What's your most impressive rescued sewing project, and how did you go about making it work?"
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I've talked about this, maybe I haven't. But one time, this is like 2012 or something, I made this dress and it was very like of the 2010s vibe. It was like a fitted bodice, like 4-dart bodice and a gathered skirt and like a fun novelty print, right? It was very cute. It was a new to me pattern though. And I, of course, didn't make a muslin because why?
Yeah.
Why would I? And it turned out with the funniest like proportions. The neckline and shoulders were enormous on me. The bust fit and then the waist was big. So the waist is like easy to take in. I knew what to do there. But on the upper torso, I was so lost at what to do. I really liked the fabric. I bought it at the store I was working at. We were sold out of it. So I was like, I can't recut the bodice. So I came up with this idea to add a pleat to the neckline, like a pleated detail to bring in the neckline and make it fit a little bit more. But I didn't want it to look like I was fixing a mistake. So I was like, okay, how do I make this look like it was an intentional choice? So what I ended up doing is I went with the pleat detail, but I added like a matching ribbon so that the pleat wasn't sewn, it was tied with the ribbon. So when I tied the ribbon, it created an inverted box pleat at the neckline. And the ribbon was like a really good match. And it looked like it was totally intentional. And I got compliments on that dress all of the time. And at first I would tell people, oh, thank you. It was like a total mistake. And then I was like, you know what? They don't need to know.
Yeah.
I'm just like a really, really creative like that.
Yeah. You don't always have to point out your mistakes.
Yeah. It's still like a lesson I'm learning. Sometimes I point out my mistakes and sometimes I'm like, it's my secret.
Yeah.
My secret.
Why do you think we have that impulse to point out our mistakes?
Because it's like less embarrassing if we point it out. Like it's beating them to the punch, probably.
But if somebody's already complimenting you on it, they don't think it's a mistake.
I guess you're right. I don't know.
It does feel that way, like you don't want somebody to notice that it's a mistake, so you're going to point it out. But clearly they haven't, so I don't know.
I don't know
where that impulse comes from. Maybe you feel like you're more relatable. I don't know.
You're like, I'm cool, but I'm not that cool.
I'm really not that cool. It's not that great. Well, what I was thinking of as you were describing that, because it was a fitting problem, it reminded me of a fitting problem that I had in one of my dresses that I made long, long time ago. This was also probably early 2000s, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But it was this really, really cute dress that I made from a 70s pattern in this beautiful rayon print that I found. And there was no more of it, just like your story. And what I found is when I finished it, it had a zipper in back and the zipper was super, super wavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like bunching up a lot in the back. In the front a little bit, but mostly in the back. And this was because I have a very short torso and I hadn't done any kind of like fitting adjustments on it at all. I just made it from the 70s pattern. But I'd already done the entire thing. And so I ended up taking apart pretty much the entire bodice.
Mm-hmm.
It was partially lined, like it was, and it had a zipper, the whole works. But I liked the dress so much that I felt like, well, if it doesn't fit me, I'm never going to wear it. I'm always going to feel self-conscious in it.
Right.
So I ended, and it's it's faster to fix than it is to make an entirely new dress.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking it completely apart, shortening the bodice, reinstalling the zipper, like redoing all of that. And it ended up looking amazing on me, and I wore it to death. I wore it all the time. So I think that was a really good lesson in, if you really have a feeling of care for the things that you make, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just feel like something you're checking off your list so you can move on to the next project, which I think sometimes I can fall into that trap
Yeah.
of feeling like I want to make more and more and more instead of really diving into one project and putting a lot of care into it. I think that was a really good lesson for me and something I've tried to carry forth into other projects too.
And I think fixing the problem now instead of sometimes there can be an impulse to be like, I'll
Mhm.
fix it later. If
Yeah.
it really bothers me, I'll fix it later.
Yeah.
But like, do you? When you do that, like, do you end up fixing it?
Because it's not as exciting to fix something that's already hanging in your closet as it is to make something new,
Yeah, agreed.
even though you might love it even more.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. One I still learn
Yeah.
on occasion.
It's something I'm trying to think about a lot more in my sewing these days is just really investing in each individual project and making each one the best it can be. Not and that doesn't necessarily mean being a perfectionist about it, but just making sure that it matches my vision and what I want for
Yeah.
it.
It's always this balancing act of holding yourself to like having pride in your work and wanting to make each project the best it can be, but also not being so hard on yourself that you, I don't know,
That you're not
that the,
having fun.
yeah, the
Yeah.
joy's gone. Okay, I have a question. If you were to make something that you could wear at least once a week this fall, what would you sew?
That's a really good question. So I've already been thinking a little bit about about my fall sewing plans.
Naturally.
Yeah. But I think one thing that I'm planning to probably make and that I know I'm going to wear a lot is I have two pairs of Chelsea jeans that I've made already, one in denim and one in a light blue corduroy. And I love both of them. And I already have some brown corduroy, and I think I want to make them again in a brown corduroy. I know I'd wear them a lot because, first of all, I love the pattern. I've made it twice already, and I wear those both quite a bit. And then I also have a pair of brown jeans that are kind of a similar cut. I think they're called like a cowboy cut. So not exactly the same, but it's like a boot cut. And I wear those a lot. I wore them a lot last fall. One thing that I did last fall was I tried to take more pictures of outfits that I liked
Uh-huh.
that I put on so that I could see what I'm actually wearing and what I get the most wear out. And one thing I found in doing that is that when it gets cooler, I wear a lot of pants. Like I wear pants pretty much every day, which is funny because I love dresses. I really like wearing dresses, but I also like to be warm.
Yeah.
So I do end up wearing a lot of pants. So I feel like making more pants would be time well spent for my fall wardrobe. So that's what I think would probably be something that I'd wear the most.
What shade of brown?
It's like a chocolate brown.
Oh, love it.
It's a really pretty
Beautiful.
chocolate brown. Yeah. What about you?
Okay. I think I've also been thinking about this. I really need to upgrade some of my t-shirts. They just like get ratty after a while,
Especially the white ones.
especially the white ones. And I love a white t-shirt. So I was thinking of doing like a weekend or a day where I just batch cut and sew a bunch of t-shirts because in the fall and I guess in the winter, it's like all about layering. And I feel like 80% of my outfits revolve around a t-shirt being under the sweater, the cardigan, the whatever I'm
Yeah.
wearing. So I thought it'd be nice to do some like really elevated ones with some like really nice thick cotton, some maybe a merino wool one, just to kind of upgrade what I have going on right now.
That's a great idea. I love that idea of batch sewing a few of them all in one day.
Yeah, especially because I was thinking about like, okay, I want like a white cotton one. I want a black cotton one, but I also want a black merino one. And, all the sergers set up with the black thread.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah. I love doing that. In fact, with my summer sewing, that's one thing. I ordered my projects so that I wouldn't have to rethread my machine and my serger. It's like I've got a white one, I've got another white one, I've got another white one. And I got a red one.
Yeah, I'm always thinking strategically about serge or thread. When I pass off the photo samples for sample sewing, I always am like, okay, how can I maximize this cone thread so that they're not having to change the cone thread for every single sample? If they can at least sew like 2 at a time, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. I know. When you think about it, it's like, well, how long does it really take to rethread the serger? But it is that mental barrier.
And when you're batch sewing things, it like takes the batching out.
Yeah.
If you can't do all of the same steps at the same time.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, it sounds like we have our fall sewing plans partially underway.
Phase 1 figured out.
So what are you sewing right now, and what are you excited to sew next?
Okay, so it's still summertime as we're recording this. I just printed the BF Patterns Daphne dress. It is like a square neck dress with a yoke, a little like gathered thing. I'm kind of feeling like a 70s vibe this summer, so I'm embracing that. So I think this is going to be my last summer specific sew. And then I think I'm going to work on some pre-fall like palette cleansers, which is what I think my t-shirts are going to be, is my pre-fall palette cleansers, because I can wear them now, but I'll definitely be wearing them as the weather cools off too. What's your plan?
Well, I just finished a few projects. I'm kind of in between projects, and I just finished my quilt block for the month, which I mentioned last week that I'm working on this annual quilt where I do one block every month. And I just finished that block. And so I'm kind of in between right now, but I like the idea of having that fall palette cleanser. That's what I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
So I have a Seamwork Bloom pattern printed out, which is a blouse, like a really pretty gathered blouse with nice big sleeves and pin tucks. And I have some Liberty fabric left over from my summer sewing plans when I did a Liberty shopping binge for the Memorial Day sales. So I was thinking about doing that before I head into my fall sewing, which I'm really excited about. I think it'll be a pretty nice quick sew, and it'll be something that I can wear now, and then I can wear it at other times of year too, which is kind of nice. There's just, I don't know. I have so much nice fabric that I want to work with. That's one of my goals for fall, is to sew more with what I already have, because I was going through my stash recently and I was like, wow, I have so much great stuff in here. I really need to use more of this.
Yeah, I'm having the opposite problem. I'm going through my stash right now and I'm like, this looks like it's for like a different person bought this fabric.
Really?
I feel like I've gone through so many like style and life changes in the last 5 years that I'm like, wow, this is sad that I don't think I'm going to sew with this, but I want someone else to.
Yeah. I have a lot of stuff that I guess it falls into 2 categories. I do have some of that for sure. And then I also have things that, well, maybe 3 categories. Some of that, a little bit of things that I've loved forever, like vintage rayon fabrics and things like that. Those kind of like really beautiful vintage florals. I have always loved those. And then the things that are just too fancy and that
Oh, yeah.
I haven't figured out a use for because they're so fancy. I have all these metallic fabrics. I have a whole drawer that's labeled miscellaneous, and it's almost all metallic fabrics.
Your Tin Man era.
Yeah, exactly. I want to have a Tin Man era because I really like metallic fabrics, but finding a use for them is a little bit tricky. Not because I think you can't wear them every day, because I could, but my lifestyle is really like a gold lame shirt lifestyle. I feel a little weird, I guess, in it.
I just did the fall trend forecast workshop with the Design Your Wardrobe crew, and one of the big trends is metallic, but like very like sleek metallics and metallic details. There was, gosh, I totally am spacing on the designer now, but there was a designer that showed a bunch of like jackets and coats that had like textural metallic lapels, and I was like, oh, that like actually is so cool and like interesting as just like a detail.
You know what's hilarious is I'm talking about how I have too much metallic fabric. Just last night I was looking at Etsy and I was looking up silver lame fabric on Etsy. And like silver, like linen with silver threads in it. Like, I was looking for more.
I'm starting to think you have like this like alter ego.
Yeah. Disco Sari.
Just
I do really like metallics, and I like metallic shoes. I think are just so wearable.
Uh-huh.
They go with everything. I mean, I think that's true for metallics generally, but yeah, I don't really sew with them that much. So maybe I should. Maybe I should add that into my fall plan.
Yeah, put it into the try later. Speaking of things we can try, is there anything like new that you've been trying lately?
Let me think. Oh, yeah, one thing that I've been doing lately that has been very, very helpful is so I really like journaling. I do a lot of journaling.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I did, which I read about in this book, which I think is called How to Stop Overthinking, because I'm an overthinker, in case you guys hadn't realized
Relatable.
it. So I tend to overthink everything, and I'm trying to learn how to let go of some of that. So one of the exercises it recommended was to track your stress levels and your stress triggers day to day, and basically rate your stress level on a scale of, I think it's like 1 to 10. I mean, you can really do whatever stress levels you want to, and then track, what was the trigger for that. And then after a certain period of time, whether that's 2 weeks or 30 days, however long you want to do it, notice what the patterns are and what are the consistent stress triggers for you. And it was really, really helpful to me and really enlightening. One of the things that it said in this book is that, we think of stress as being bad. Like we don't want stress. How do we lower our stress? But the reality is you want a certain amount of stress because it's very motivating to have a certain amount of stress in your life. If you had no stress and you were just relaxed all the time, I mean, maybe that would work for some people. Maybe if you're, a monk, that's what you're really trying to achieve. But I think for most of us, a certain amount of stress comes with, for example, being creative. You need a little bit of that tension in there. So deciding what is your optimum stress level that you want to shoot for so that you can notice when you're above or below it. And maybe that's like a 3 or a 4 for you out of 10. And that was really helpful to me, just in terms of noticing a little bit more where my stress level is and how I can adjust to get it in the range that I'm comfortable in without just trying to eliminate all stress, which feels impossible. So that was really interesting to me. And I noticed some definite patterns in what was causing me stress day to day. So I've been able to kind of address those bigger triggers, or at least anticipate them if it's something that I can't avoid.
Yeah, totally.
So that's been really, really interesting. I'd recommend it if you haven't tried that before.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mine's also like nervous system related. And that is that I've been doing like a intentional like nervous system reset after I put my kids to bed at night. I think that anyone who has kids can relate to this. And I think people who don't have kids either, is that there could be times in your day. And for me, this is evening time where I get really stuck in like checklist mode. And when my kids get back from school and daycare, it's like, oh, we got to feed them, we got to bathe them, we got to get everything ready for the next day. And my brain goes on this like hyper vigilance mode of being like, checking off all of the things. And which is kind of fine. It serves like a really helpful purpose for me to be able to get the stuff done. But if I'm not careful, then I can spend the rest of my evening in this like hyper arousal state of like, oh, I got to do this. Like, I got to do this, and just kind of bouncing around and not really like being able to enjoy myself and relax. So once I put them to bed, there's always like still like stuff to do, but I take a half hour to go out into my garden and I water my garden and just like stand in the sunlight and chill out. And then I come inside and I do like a 5-minute meditation, because all the stuff can wait and all of the like things I have to do are much more enjoyable if I'm not like bouncing off the walls doing them. And it's made my evening so much more relaxed, and it's made reduced tension in my marriage when I'm not like barking orders at myself and at others. So that's been really nice. And it was really like aided by having a garden, because it gave me an intentional moment to pause. And I was like, you know what? What if I did this on purpose?
Yeah. That's really interesting because I get into that mode too. I've noticed on weekends, which seems like the time that you would relax the
Mhm.
most, but I feel like, okay, this is my time to get all the non-work stuff done. And so I have to do this and and a lot of the stuff is actually stuff that I want to do. It's not stuff I have to do necessarily, but I do get into that checklist mode, like you're saying, of like, okay, I need to do this, 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 and this before I run out of time and it's Monday again and I have to go back to work in my regular schedule.
Yeah.
So I get like that. And one thing that I found for me just recently that I'm trying to implement is instead of making out a big list of all the things that I need to get done that weekend, is to pick an area to putter in and
Oh.
just, or two areas maybe. So maybe I want to go do my sewing. So I'm just going to putter in the sewing shed for a little while. I'm going to putter in the garden, look around, see what needs to be done, a little bit more, go with the flow
Mhm.
instead of making a list of all these tiny tasks and flitting from one to the other.
Yep.
And it feels so much more relaxed and enjoyable because I love puttering in the garden and feeling like it's just, moving around, doing what needs to be done is a lot more relaxed than just trying to check everything off.
Yeah.
So that's been working for me, at least so far.
I like that. The puttering approach.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some things that we've experienced recently or tried recently that we want to recommend to other people. So I'll start. I read a book called Slow Productivity with my friend Felicia. It's by Cal Newport. So I love Cal Newport's books. He wrote Deep Work. He wrote Digital Minimalism, which is a book that really influenced me in the last year. And so Felicia is another business owner. She owns Sweet Georgia Yarns and the School of Sweet Georgia. She also has a podcast called The Sweet Georgia Show. She's amazing. And she's in the world of other textile crafts. So her whole thing is multi-craftual. So she's dyeing and weaving and knitting, all this cool stuff. So we decided to read this book together and discuss it. We met yesterday to talk about it. And even though this book wasn't really my favorite by Cal Newport, I think some of the others have been a lot more influential on me. It had some really good ideas and some really good reminders for me. It has a lot of very tactical little tips and tricks in it, some of which I felt were applicable, some of which I probably don't really mesh with that well. But my favorite one, which I've been trying to implement, is to pick just 3 projects to work on at any one time. So this is mainly in regards to your work, not
Mhm.
necessarily, your home life. Obviously, I have many more projects than that in my home life, but I suppose you could apply it to that as well. But to pick just 3 main projects to work on at any one time and do them a little bit more sequentially than just trying to do everything and finish everything at once. And that's been really, really helpful for me. I think this could definitely work for your sewing. Personally, I like to work on 1 to 2 projects at a time with my sewing. I don't like to have too much going on at any one time and feel like nothing's getting done. So that's something that's been really, really useful just for even just for calming my mind and making me feel like a little bit more in control of what I'm doing and feeling like I'm accomplishing things and I have momentum
Yeah.
instead of working on a million different things and feeling scattered. So if you're interested, I'd recommend all his books, but this one's good if you've read Deep Work already and you want a few more little tips and tricks and tactics, I think.
Cool. I'll add it to my list. The thing that I'm going to recommend is a podcast I've started listening to lately, which is maybe you guys, I feel like it's pretty popular. It's Good Hang. It's Amy Poehler's podcast. I feel like the world is very heavy right now. There's a lot of sadness and anger and despair. And while I'm like doing other things to turn all of those feelings into action, I've also been trying to make an effort to bring more lightness and laughter to like my day to day. And podcast is a great way to do that when you're busy because, you guys know you're listening to a podcast right now. You just pop in your headphones while you're doing whatever you're doing. And this is just like a really fun one. It makes me laugh until my cheeks hurt and just feels like a fun hang, like a good hang. Get it? With your pals, if your pals were like really, really funny people. So that's like, my less productive but more funsies kind of rec for the month.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I haven't been listening to as many podcasts and I haven't been listening to as many funny podcasts as I used to. I used to really love listening to Conan's podcast.
Knew you were going to say it.
I love Conan, but I haven't in a little while. Maybe I should get back to that, and I'll check out Amy Poehler's too. That's fun. I do like funny podcasts, but it's for some reason it's easy to fall out of the habit of listening to them.
Yeah, I feel like, there's just like, I do the same thing where I fall out of the habit of like consuming like just lighthearted things. And all of a sudden I'm like, man, I'm like reading this like sad book and listening to these serious podcasts and the news, and like, where's the fun? All of that stuff is great. I won't give up on all of my other serious pursuits, but you gotta like have a little lightness in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't carry like the, burdens of the world all the time. Only some of the time.
I know. Amazon recommended this free book that was like, it was like a Greg Olson book. He writes a lot of true stories, true crime sort of things, and they're really dark and heavy. And they gave me this book for free. It's like free for Kindle. And I was like, okay, well, I read one of his other books and I liked it. So I downloaded it, I started reading it, and it was so dark. I was like, why am I reading this? Like, I'm sorry that this person had this horrible experience, and it's just very dark. And it made me realize that what you feed your brain, can really have a big impact on your outlook on life. And not that you should avoid anything that's dark, obviously, but you don't need to only consume that stuff either.
Yeah, it's like about like consuming so mindfully.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we can get into a spiral of not consuming sadness mindfully.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a certain amount of it both alleviates and feeds into anxiety. So it's very addictive in that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. We mentioned fun new segments. I'm going to kick after that. I thought I'd kick us off with something a little more lighthearted. This is one we're calling Seamwork Time Machine. So we have 10 years of patterns. It's like a truly impressive. I'm impressed by our library all the time. It's so big now that I forget the names of patterns.
Yeah.
Patterns I've designed.
Yeah. I'm getting to that point too.
Just brain farts sometimes. I look at something, I'm like, yeah, I designed that. I can tell you the month and the year, but I can't tell you the name. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about some older Seamwork patterns and how we would sew them if we were sewing them today. So today's time machine pattern is the Oslo cardigan, which is one of like the OG, original
one
Seamwork
of the first
patterns. Was it the first or the second month?
It might have been the first month.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an old one. It's an oldie.
It's old. Sari, if you were to make it today, how would you sew Oslo?
Okay, so I've made Oslo a few times. I really like this pattern.
It's cute.
Even though it's quite old, and there are a lot of things you can do with it. So for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a very simple open front cardigan with a shawl collar. So it's got a band that goes all the way around the neckline. Very easy to sew. It's like really super simple to sew. You can make it in jersey if you want like a really light kind of summery version. You can make it in a heavier fabric. I think if I were going to make it today, I think it'd be so cute in like a really like a boucle kind of fabric, or something like with a lot of texture to it and a lot of heft, almost like faux furry kind of. I think that would look really amazing in this cardigan and just feel very cuddly and easy to wear, and a really great top layer for maybe not for winter, but maybe for like late fall. I think that would be amazing and really, really pretty.
My brain kind of goes down a similar path with it, where I would prioritize. Actually, I have two ideas. One would be to like really prioritize texture and then maybe do it in like a bright colored fabric, like a chartreuse or something that's like brings some color interest, because I feel like in the fall, it's perfect for fall. There's a lot of outfits that are like more basic that we tend to fall back on. And I think it would be a really good textural color moment to add to those kinds of outfits. Like your white t-shirt and jeans, but then you have this cool cardigan to throw over top. I also have I have an Oslo that I made in a sweatshirt fleece. And it's really cute for just like work from home days, where it has the shawl collar. So when you're on Zoom, you look nice. But it's a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's my other route that I would go with it is like elevated robe
Ooh,
moment.
that would be nice. That'd be really, really comfy.
Yeah, French terry, sweatshirt fleece, something like that would be fun.
Do you think it would work in a Sherpa? Because I think that would be really pretty.
Yes.
I think that would be really cool.
The only thing I wonder, it would depend on the loft of the Sherpa because the shawl collar, since it's double layer, might be a little
poofy.
You might want to make the shawl collar wider so it has more to like turn around the curve of the collar.
Maybe it would look good poofy. You know, a little cuddly.
I think it would look good. I just think you would want to make it like a chunkier collar.
Yeah.
Which would be easy. You just like make the piece wider.
It bigger. Yeah. That would be really pretty. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll add that to my plan. It is so fast. It is a really quick
so fast
sew.
Because the way the collar is like a big, huge band. And then the sleeves also have a big band. You're only doing one hem around the bottom.
It's really very simple and a great layering piece too. That's fun. All right, we have another segment we wanted to share, which is Tool of the Month. I'm excited about this tool because I've been using it a lot on set for our YouTube videos. And it is really helpful in ways that you might not expect. And that is an awl, A-W-L, awl. It's a little hard to say, don't you think?
Yeah.
Awl. So I love an awl for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, the purpose of an awl usually is to poke holes in things. So the reason you use an awl rather than cutting a hole, for example, if you're doing like an eyelet or something, is that it helps to separate the fibers rather than just punching through them so that you don't get as much fraying. So that's the kind of the main purpose of an awl. But there are other uses for it. And my favorite use for it is basically being kind of a second pair of hands when you're sewing that helps you get a lot closer to the foot than your fingers can. So if you need to really get a lot of control over your fabric while you're sewing, you want to make sure that it's precisely feeding under the needle. And maybe you're working with something a little bit slippery, or maybe you just need a little bit more precision. You can use the tip of the awl to really guide the fabric as it goes under your presser foot and make sure that it stays in place. And it's great. It's really, really helpful. So that's why I love my awl so much. Do you use an awl? Do you have other purposes for it that you can think of?
That's how I use an awl now. Yeah, for putting holes in things. When I learned how to sew in a commercial setting, we used it all to mark the apex of darts. So you poke the hole about a ½ inch down from the apex of the dart, and then you sew like past it. I don't think it's appropriate for every fabric, obviously, but I still use that technique. Sometimes if I'm sewing on like a cotton lawn or quilting cotton or something that's like pretty resilient, the threads are not super fine, so I know it's not going to like snag or do something funky. I still use an awl to mark dots. You can, I mean, in any marking, we would use it to mark like a patch pocket or any kind of like dot marking where something was going to either be on the inside of the stitch line or be covered by like something that's applied flat.
Yeah, that's another good use for it. We also use it in our YouTube videos just to point to things.
Like a teacher.
Yeah. So you can see up close because my fingers are not as precise as an awl. Well, let's talk about, before we go, what's new at Seamwork right now. So, Haley, you want to talk about the new patterns, the fig cardigan and the Orla skirt?
Yeah, so we have 2 new patterns that I'm so excited about. The first one is the fig cardigan. Fig is a fitted cardigan. My inspiration for this was a cardigan that could be a top and could be an outer layer. And I was like inspired by like sweater sets and things like that. I thought I could like see this being really cool. My fall inspiration for our patterns was like kind of like academic look to it. And it felt like it would be a huge mess to not have a cardigan in the mix. We don't have like a fitted button-up cardigan in our catalog right now. So fig is ideal for that. Sew it in like a rib knit and all sorts of different things. Merino jerseys. You could also make it in something that's a little bit like more textural, a little thicker, but it is fitted. So you want some good stretch and recovery. And then we have the Orla skirt. And Orla is a mini skirt. It's fully lined. So it's a really great skirt for learning how to line something with a zipper. There's a center back invisible zipper, side seam pockets that have a really cute little button closure. If you don't want to have a button closure, just omit the buttonhole in the button. And it has princess seams on it. So it's really easy to fit too. I feel like this is like the perfect intermediate pattern for if you're wanting to like pick up some more fine sewing techniques in a really like low stakes. All of the steps are very easy. The construction's very easy. So you can experiment with like the slippery lining fabric and the lining and all of that kind of stuff. They're both fantastic. And I've had so much fun working on them with the pattern team. They're looking so cute. And right now we haven't shared them with the world yet, but I'm excited for you all who get to go look at them.
They are so cute. I want to make both of them. And I think they look so cute together too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a great pair.
Yeah, they're going to be awesome. And I love a mini skirt in the fall. I just love it. It's one of my staples in my closet.
It's so cute. And as the weather cools down, you can like wear opaque tights and all of that so you don't feel quite as, nude if you don't want to feel nude.
Yeah. What I love, one of my staple outfits in the fall and even in the winter is a wool mini skirt, opaque tights, and then some kind of durable boot or shoe. And that protects my feet and ankles from all the thorns and everything that are around my house.
From the many thorns.
Yeah. Thorns are a big problem in my life. And at the same time, keeps me nice and warm and feeling cute and not just like I'm throwing something on. So I love that. Well, I also wanted to share this week on YouTube, I did a video called The 5 Most Valuable Presser Feet I've Ever Discovered. You should definitely check it out. I had so much fun putting this together and talking about presser feet. I feel like presser feet are something that people maybe, especially beginners, don't really consider to the full extent that they could.
Mm-hmm.
And they can make such a big difference in your sewing. So definitely check out that video if you're interested in learning more about some of my favorite presser feet and how you could use them. We also have a skills workshop going on right now on welt pockets. So that's running right now. You can still join in this month if you want to participate. And we have an upcoming workshop in October on bagged linings. So that's perfect for making coats and jackets. So if you're interested in learning more about how to do a bagged lining, you can join Erica for that in October. Those are free for Seamwork members. So if you're a member, you can participate in those for free. All right. Well, that's it for us this week. Check out the new patterns, Fig Cardigan and the Orla Skirt at seamwork.com. And remember that when you join, you get access to new patterns every month, plus our entire library of over 250 patterns to help you design and craft the perfect wardrobe for you. And if you liked this episode, be sure to leave us a review. We love seeing your reviews on Apple Podcasts. We had a great question to lead off this episode from Amy. And if you have a question for us for a future episode, you can leave it there in a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we will see it and we will incorporate it into a future episode like this. And you can also follow us on YouTube at Seamwork Video. You can follow us on Instagram at Seamwork. And if you'd like to become part of the Seamwork community, head over to seamwork.com to learn how to join. All right, that's it for us this week. I'm Sari.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio.